Hello and welcome to the News Express, exclusively brought to you by Business AM, Nigeria's fastest growing financial and business newspaper. I am Chukunonso Modi. Now let's take a look at the stories hitting the front page this week. Now the big one says Nigeria's aviation capacity deficit stings in airlines Forex mess. Now we have some headlines, experts weigh in with solutions to crisis fallout, CBN ought to act and trapped airlines fund, and the last sub-headline, passengers to suffer high fares, poor capacity, and limited options. Another headline says Imo woos impact investors in employment-led industrial renaissance. Now, sub-headlines, investors can tackle economic deprivation, poverty. Another sub-headline, targets digital economy to open state to the world, says Amechi. Now, other stories you should check out is commodities and agriculture with the title, Cutting 3.5 trillion naira post-harvest losses. We also have finance and investment with global current accounts rise on Ukraine. Politics plus economy too, says the evolving 2023 presidential contest. Definitely check out Executive Knowledge Series with human AI collaborating better, and visionary voices saying, can gender equality be saved? Now let's bring in Philip Isakba, the publisher, Business AM, to help us make sense of the headlines. Good morning, Philip.
Yeah, good morning. So it's good to be back once again to look at the stories making the rounds for this week.
Yeah, it's good to have you too. Now let's go to the first one, which says Nigeria's aviation capacity deficit stings in airlines Forex mess. Now we touched on this sector 2 weeks ago, if I'm not wrong, and it's sad that Nigeria's lack of capacity to compete in the international air travel space is the reason for, this high outflow of foreign exchange. And this is meeting the needs of airlines who are providing services for international traveling passengers in Nigeria. I mean, using Emirates, we're saying that international carriers flying to the country are either suspending flights or tasking Nigerians to pay for flights in the United States currency. That's the dollar, which is not easy at all, Mr. Philip.
Absolutely. Nigeria is in a whole lot of trouble. The economy is in a mess right now because it is leveraged on different aspects or different areas of the economy, and foreign exchange is one of them, unfortunately. We have seen the currency tank so badly that today we are speaking about 650 to over 700 naira to the dollar.
That's a lot.
The real point really is that there isn't money coming in, in such huge number as to enable this foreign reserves to create to a level that it can meet all the needs, that the country has. And that's especially the reason why all this is happening. Because when you had foreign reserves that was awash with foreign currency, nobody had a problem. People could, businesses and individuals could walk to their bank, make a request for foreign exchange, and where there isn't anything, any policy against allocation of forex to the particular area, the businesses or the organizations just had had their forex. We weren't talking about this last year or early last year or 2 years ago, because these repatriations were being met, but with the situation right now, where there isn't enough foreign exchange earnings, the reserves aren't looking pretty, then you're having this kind of, more than that, is that you have a sector, whose management, it seems to favor outsiders instead of developing the aviation sector. And this is what the story is about, because when we went to town, instead of just looking at the complaints that the foreign airlines were leaving the country or were planning to leave the country, had suspended, like Emirates has promised to do by September 1, we looked at the subset of what exactly was the underlying issues, that the sector was dealing with, and luckily enough, we were able to tease out a number of factors that have been responsible for this. And this is the fact that Nigeria has not enough capacity. Now, simple, what you have within an airline business, what we found out is that in this airline business, we're having the fact that foreign airlines who sell tickets in Nigeria, in Naira, have to have this money sent back to their corporate headquarters. A lot of them they're not Nigerian businesses anyway. So if you sell your tickets, you should be able to repatriate your tickets. Just like if you sold cocoa, in foreign markets, and the economy to which you sell your cocoa, or the crude oil. Let's not even go as much as cocoa. If you sold crude oil outside the country, like we do, and those people say they don't have foreign exchange to give to you, naturally you will look elsewhere to sell your crude oil, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically what's going on. That Nigeria doesn't have the capacity to continue to meet the foreign exchange needs of that particular sector of the economy, of many sectors actually, not just the aviation sector. So but the capacity issue is that if you have airlines, that are able to fly to those countries as well, you will have the frequency of them coming into the country reduced, because people will have alternatives of where they can fly to. The alternative airlines that they can use, and those airlines will have to be, if you have them in Nigeria,
mm-hmm.
good enough, because they will not be requiring you to, of course they will need foreign exchange, but they will be able to earn some foreign exchange from outside the country as well. And then there will be a balancing out, somehow, might not be 50-50, might not be 60-40, but you'll be able to get in some kind of Forex, because you're able to you have domestic airlines or a national carrier, not necessarily national carrier, but carriers from Nigeria who are based in Nigeria, who do everything that they have to do in Nigeria, flying into those countries and being able to earn some foreign exchange, or we not needing to have a lot of foreign airlines coming into the country, because they are the ones that are able to do so. So that's what we found out has been a capacity problem, and this capacity problem is because nobody is paying attention to how you set up an industry or
exactly.
a sector in such a way that you are benefiting from it.
Exactly.
So so only recently you found that I'm sure you were shocked, or perhaps surprised, if not shocked, when they said that the frequency of Emirates coming into Nigeria would be 11 a week.
That's shocking, really.
It was shocking that they gave them they can fly in, almost like if they want to come two times in a day, they are allowed. And that is how do you manage a sector? Who are you representing? Are you representing your country, or you are representing another country entirely? So that is the protection. Not protection, but the way you manage your industry, and this is what the capacity issue is all about. What are you managing? Are you managing it, to benefit your country, to benefit the industry? Now they have a situation where foreign airlines are flying into different airports,
mm-hmm.
In Nigeria. I don't see the UK being able to give a Nigerian carrier to fly to Manchester, but if they want to fly in, they fly into London, and then or domestic airlines in the UK, they can have a connecting flight to different airports they want to go to. But it will be difficult to find UK give access to different airports to a Nigerian carrier. But that is what is going on. So there's a big challenge that it seems to me that policymakers or regulators or people who are in charge of this kind of things think more about themselves, because they want to fly Emirates anyway, So, and if they want to, if they're going to Port Harcourt and the better, and they're coming from outside, they probably want to go to Port Harcourt with Emirates, So that is the challenge that the industry is facing, and this is what is responsible for this. So there's a capacity problem. Nigeria not able to meet the capacity that should balance out the foreign airlines that are coming into the country, and this is a serious concern, and this is what they say is contributing to this issues that we are currently facing in this sector.
Yes. You know what, Mr. Philip? What makes this sad and worse is the fact that it's not that we cannot get to this capacity. Maybe, sometimes it might be that you are still learning the ropes and then you don't know how to do it. But we are not, doing our best to actually reach this capacity. I mean, last 2 weeks we spoke about this sector and how the IATA, if I'm not wrong, had said that the sector would have gains globally. And here we are having other things to worry about, and now we are talking about the crisis of ticket sales remittances to foreign-owned carriers. This again is bringing up the negative position that Nigeria has been finding itself within the rest of the world, especially in trading positions. And it's terrible that we have still not been able to grasp the concept, grasp what to do. I mean, now it's falling on the masses because they are the ones going to pay these high fares. They are the ones who are going to deal with limited options. And, other things are coming with this crisis that we're having right now.
Absolutely, Don. So this is something that shouldn't be happening, especially in this age and time.
Yes.
Where you expect leaders in the sector, or particularly in the area of policy making, to be geared in a way that connects to what's going on globally. I would still continue to maintain the Emirates situation. It took quite a lot of tit for tat or behavior for UAE, to allow Air Peace, to have. To have some leeway, when they were arguing over slots in entering what's it called Dubai or the other airport that they fly to. It took government intervention, to come in. But you have to set up yourself. I think when people talk about the enabling environment, there seems to be a misalignment or misunderstanding on the part of government. How do you create, what exactly do you intend to achieve, when you go out saying you have a sector, and how that the sector should operate in a way, especially when it's involved in the global space. How do you want to see it? To be able to get all the gains that are possible, for the benefit of the sector and the benefit of the economy at large. That is the policy isn't deep enough, or it's too selfish. Like one of these our sources said, that there seems to be too much personalization of policy, of not addressing issues broadly. They look at it from the narrow lens, that they carry all over the place, and that is a major challenge. What kind of aviation sector do you want to put in place? And that is one thing that everybody is spoken to, for this story, told us that there seems not to be the regulators or government officials, especially they blame the Ministry of Aviation in particular, for not acting in the proper way that it should act. But it's also a general systemic issue, because it is not just the aviation sector. You go to the petroleum sector for a long time. There are two issues: the issues of gas and the issue of petroleum production. Generally, the same thing. What exactly do you want to put in place to ensure that you are maximizing the benefits that nature has given to you? The advantages that nature has given to you in terms of making those resources, natural resources available to you. And we have found that years and years or even decades, nothing seems to work with regards to how officials deal with what it's in their hands, the gains that they have in their hands. Of course, excess crude account is down to 34,000, 34,000, or even less than $500,000. And we're talking about a country. That's what an individual should be talking about. When it's looking at his or her balances. But that is the situation that we find ourselves. That you have what you call the bilateral air services agreements. That have been signed with so many countries. But in those countries, take advantage of the agreements that have been signed. But you don't find us creating the environment for Nigerians or Nigerian operators to take advantage of those agreements. So too many issues, involved with regards to this, of course, you have a situation like this going on. Nigeria is all going out now because it wants to, what you call, rebet its a national carrier called Air Nigeria or so. And it's going around the world trying to look for partners. And then this kind of story this kind of situation is brewing or has come to light, and those investors will be looking at you and be laughing.
Honestly, real laugh.
You haven't solved your problem back at home. I'm wondering what you're coming out here, to seek investors for. So many things. And this is not going to be good for. It's not good for the image of Nigeria. It's not going to be good for business. Of course, what seems to happen is that once we leverage ourselves to foreign. Let's call it foreign goods or foreign services. We seem to be hooked on them, and we seem not to be able to get ourselves out of it. Because by now you should have had at least 2 or 3 strong domestic airlines, or when I say domestic, I mean Nigerian-owned airlines. That are giving the kind of support, that will enable them, to fly internationally, be involved, compete, effectively with international operators, and then just act as a regulator, just act out your role as a regulator, ensuring that the conducive environment is created, that those things that are supposed to ensure that the issues of safety, of proper operations of these airlines, are what you are concerned about, and not be interested in whether this airline is a favored or not to be favored, and by giving a flag, there are many private airlines across the world that are carrying flags, of many countries, just because those countries want to ensure that they have flag carriers, but the situation is completely the opposite here. That is the major challenge that we're facing. So there are systemic issues, there are structural issues. The aviation sector in Nigeria is in a mess. Domestic airlines are complaining. The cost has ballooned. We talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago when we talked about IATA predicting that there's going to be positive globally, but not sure about whether that advantage or that positive will rub off on Nigeria. So many things to look at. How they resolve this issue, I can't say, because one analyst told us that most airlines will be watching the situation. We are in August, so they probably will watch the situation up to December, and if there's no improvement or there aren't signs that their monies are going to be able to be taken out of the country, then definitely going to have a policy. Going to take a strong decision going into the new year.
Yes.
And this is what everybody seems to think will happen. Of course, there are advantages of having those foreign airlines because we own foreign exchange earnings, are also especially earned by agencies, earned by the Nigerian, by Nigeria, because you have landing charges, you have all those charges that come through those airlines, and those things are likely to be lost if those airlines decide that they're going to cut back on flights into the country or suspend flights entirely. Like Emirates is planning to do September 1.
Yes.
Emirates is not saying that we're cutting down services. It's saying we're suspending because
there's no gain.
Yeah, we cannot continue to fly into the country and not be able to take our money out of the country. So it's much more than we are looking at a crisis situation. We've talked about Nigeria not doing servicing, earning less and servicing its debt with more money than almost like borrowing to service its debt. It's not earning enough to service its debt. And so it has to borrow to cover up. If that is going on, and this is the first we are seeing for the first time, coming into the open, how it is not possible for Nigeria to allocate a Forex for legitimate. It's not. This is not somebody wants to import. It's not Nonso wants to import something. This is money that has been earned by these airlines, and they are not a local. They are not local companies. They have international foreign companies who have earned this money, and they need to take their money out of the country. It's like money that is almost held in trust for them because the tickets were sold in Nigeria, and they need to take their money back. Take their money out, and we are finding that that's not possible under the circumstances, which is a major problem. Which shows really that if you want to really look at it, it tells you how the vault has gone empty.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mr. Philip, we can talk about this over and over again, and it doesn't change the fact that if they don't solve this problem, we're still going to be in this circle, just going up and down without no solution whatsoever. But because of time, let's quickly go to the second story, which says Imo woos impact investors in employment-led industrial renaissance. Now, some stakeholders have observed that many of the social challenges experienced in the southeast zone of Nigeria are mainly driven by economic deprivation and poverty. Mr. Philip, can you explain that to me? Because I myself am still on the fence as to this observation.
Well, there are so many things going on in Imo State right now. I think this is as a result of the government appointing one professor from Edinburgh Business School, who is also a professor in the European University or so, so the idea is, you would say this is refreshingly different, of course not exactly new, but it's how you're looking at investment coming in, into the country. Impact investment is what some people have advocated, that investment comes into a country, or comes into a state, that those investments impact on lives, and what generally do we talk about when we look at this? We talk about impact on poverty, impact on the economic situations of the people, So I think they are saying that these investments can come in different forms. You can have investment come by way of people bringing in money, you know, and just making profit and going away. Of course, you can come and produce all sorts of goods, you know. You can come and produce a sugar-laden product, you know, and leave all the people full of diabetes, and then make your money and go away, you know. But they say you know that you must look at the investors that come in, you know, impact on lives, you know, create jobs. You know, such investments are able to alleviate poverty, you know, and that this is the direction that this policy has been framework that Imo State is now putting in place. You know, I hope this is not just talk anyway. You know,
I hope so too.
I know Professor Mechi personally, and I think that there might be some kind of if again. These eggheads can come and put some things together, and then the politicians will say thank you very much, you know, and I'm not doing anything about it, you know, but I'm hoping that with his involvement, you know, with global knowledge and global experience, that the governor who appointed him, you know, will be able to take on board some of the suggestions, and then look at the way that investment is considered in the state generally. Hopefully, we can only wish them luck and wish them the best, and believe that they will walk the talk, you know, instead of just talking the talk.
Yes. Hopefully they do that, because I mean, it's a good one that they're doing, and like you said, we hope it's not one where they'll just come and talk, and after some months or even some days, it becomes, you know, bridge underwater, it becomes something that nobody remembers. But let's see how that goes.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Philip. We'll definitely see how the stories develop this week.
Thank you very much, and so have a great week.
You too. That was Philip Isakba, the publisher of Business AM, Nigeria's fastest growing financial and business newspaper. Don't forget, you can listen in again by going to www.africabusinessradio.com and clicking on the News Express podcast. That's all for now. Stay tuned for more.